Hey, what's going on? Coach Chris, Team Critical Bench, here today with injury specialist Rick Caselge with exercisesforinjuries.com. You've probably seen that face before, certainly on our channel. What we're talking about, you see me sitting here, Rick actually is assessing my posture, and we're talking about spinal health, spinal integrity, and certainly when it comes to something like the deadlift, it's actually very, very important. And so I'm going to let the specialist himself just talk about that to a certain extent, and we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, you bet. So a common mistake that I end up seeing when people are doing the deadlift is how they end up having their head positioned.
Right.
You know, what we naturally want to do when we're doing the deadlift is we want to look up and we want to have our eyes on the horizon, looking out at the horizon. And that might be fine if you're kind of walking around, but it's not exactly great when you're doing the deadlift. And the reasons why for this is because if you're looking up and going through the deadlift, you end up putting a lot of stress in the neck, like upper neck, on the neck. And if it's it could end up injuring or damaging the neck area. So having that head up is, puts a lot of pressure on that neck area. Also, when you're looking up, it ends up creating a weak area in the spine. So the spine is supposed to be straight, but what's meant by the straight is you're keeping those normal curves. So the curve in the neck, curve in the mid-back, curve in the low back. Just like a bridge, there's an arch in the bridge, and we want to maintain that arch because that's how the spine ends up being the strongest. And if we're looking up, we've ended up creating weakness in the spine. So that ends up being a weak point in your spine and a weak point in your lift.
Because when our bodies pitch forward, obviously in the deadlift, when you're obviously bending at the hips, at the waist, bending over to get the bar, and if we're pulling our head up like this to look up, like you see typically a lot with deadlifters, so now it's almost like if I was to do that while I was sitting up tall, it's almost like I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And that's not really terrific alignment for exercise and performance.
Yeah. So like one of your setting is to set the head and then go through that deadlift movement. Also, by doing that, it decreases the pressure in the neck area. It keeps your spine strong. Also, it takes your eyes away from what's in front of you so you can actually focus on the movement. So you can feel the bar better, you can be more aware of your body, and you can just focus in on your lift and not be distracted by someone very attractive walking in front of you or some other reason. So you can focus in on your lift. Now, if you do that, if you start changing your technique when it comes to the deadlift, and which you've been doing for a long period of time, you'll probably notice your weight's going down, and that's perfectly fine because you're re-educating a key component of your technique. So you might have to start a little bit lighter in order to get the hang of things, understand why you're doing it, and then the weights will come back up again. But and your weights will probably end up going over when you relearn that new movement pattern, that new way of doing it.
It's just optimizing your spinal alignment, and there's a really easy way to do that with either like a broomstick or a foam roller, and it's easier if you actually have somebody with you to place that against your body and hold it on there while you go through that deadlift movement even without weight, and then you can figure out like where that head position needs to be, and then just practice from there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's like if you ever head to the gym, your first couple reps are not exactly great. It's after you've gone through a couple sets and you've kind of warmed up that body and your body's kind of reawakened from sitting a long period of time, and then those movements end up being better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
No worries.
We're going to continue to assess my posture, and we appreciate you watching.
Now, if you liked this video and you're kind of wondering if you have forward head posture, then what I recommend that you do is click this link right here. I have a free self-assessment that I end up going through when it comes to letting you know if you have forward head posture. It takes about 60 seconds to do, so click right here. Let me know where to send it, and I'll send it to you right away. Now, if you're watching this video on a mobile device, just head down below into the description and click the first link, which will end up being criticalbench.com/FHP. Let me know where I can send that self-assessment. Now, before you go, make sure to like the video if you ended up getting a benefit from it. Also, head down below into the description, leave me a question, and lastly, before you go, make sure to subscribe to the channel in order to get future Critical Bench videos.